You're Inside the Power Hour, sponsored by Cherie Cosmetic. I'm your host, DJ Larry Jones, a.k.a. Mr. Important. If you don't know me, then you don't know anybody. Now, I have a special guest on the line. She's the author of the book titled A Life Beyond Abuse. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jerhonda Pace. Jerhonda, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm so glad you called in. And,
thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Now, first off, I want to start by saying thank you so much for calling in. And you've written a book, and in it, you talk about your, everything you've been through with the R. Kelly situation. And, for the sake of time, I kind of want to jump right into it. First off, tell me a little bit about the book.
Well, the book is actually my autobiography. So it talks about my life before Rob and during Rob. So it's just like it's an autobiography. There's a lot that's in the book.
Okay, now what was your life like, before Rob?
Well, before Rob, I would say I had like somewhat of a normal life, but I did experience trauma prior to dealing with him.
Right.
So, I would say I had an okay life. I grew up in Chicago. It's pretty rough in Chicago.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
But eventually we moved away from Chicago.
Okay. And where did you move from Chicago? Where did you move to?
I moved to Streamwood, which is about 45 minutes to an hour away from Chicago, so it's the northwest suburb.
Okay. Now let me jump into this. How did you even meet R. Kelly?
Initially, I met him at his trial, but, that was me being a fan, just, hey, I wish you the best, that type of thing. And then I ended up getting a friend request from a guy named Bubba, who was Rob's friend at the time, however that works out. So he ended up requesting me, and he actually invited me to Rob's party.
And that's how you met him. Okay, now the first time you guys had a face-to-face meeting, what was that like? What did you guys even talk about face-to-face when you had some alone time with him?
Our very first face-to-face meeting, it was very fast, honestly. It was fast. I was at his party, and it was so loud there, I didn't want to stay. His parties are over the top loud, and you can't even hear yourself think. So it's really crazy. It was a fast meeting. He was reminding me that he knew who I was, and he remembered me, thanked me for my support, and we exchanged numbers.
Now, at some point, he invites you to his house. What was that conversation like?
Going to his house, I was still a fan, so I was in the zone, but it wasn't a real, conversation. It was more so it was a bunch of demands, like, do this, do that. It was that type of thing, so we didn't chop it up much.
Right. So, you know what, that was going to be...
told what to do.
Wow. That was going to be my next thing, was like how soon, before things started getting creepy, but it sounds like it was kind of creepy from the start. It
was immediately.
Right.
During the very first visit, I was already being told what to do.
Wow. So, now, let me ask you this. How long did you stay there? Like, when you first got there, did you stay immediately overnight, or how did that even happen? How did you end up being there?
Yes, when I first got there, I did stay overnight. And after that, it's like the stays had started becoming longer and longer, and his demands became crazier. And it was a lot to take in, but it was like, no, well, Rob loves me, and he always tells me these things. So I was very conflicted.
Right.
During my stay.
Now, were there any other young ladies that stayed there while you were there? Did you see any other, young ladies there with you?
Yes, there were others, and I did see others.
Did you hear at any point any other young ladies complaining, like, what, I got to get out of here, I can't be here? Were there anybody else complaining about that?
No, there were no complaints about leaving. And, during my stay, we were not allowed to interact with anyone if Rob wasn't present. So if he's not around, you are walking past people with your head down. It was a set of rules. Like, you can't just be all up and about and things like that.
That's crazy. How many bedrooms was in this house? Was it a pretty huge house? I'm pretty sure it was, but how many bedrooms was in there?
There were a lot of bedrooms. There were even... Well, so far that I counted 6 of them, but some of those were like makeshift bedrooms. They weren't like a full-on bedroom.
Now, there was all sorts of abuse involved in this situation, and And, we're going to try to talk about most of them, but I don't want to give too much away because I do want people to read the book. But first, talk to me a little bit about the physical abuse that you went through.
The physical abuse that I went through with Rob is very saddening. I don't really like talking about it because it makes me extremely emotional.
Right. And if you get emotional and you have to stop and you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. We'll skip to something else.
He would just go through these times. If I didn't listen to him or if I disagreed with him about something, that's when he would become physically abusive. And he was the type, he would like choke me until I passed out, and I would like literally hit the floor. I would like black out when he would choke me, and he would slap me in my face. And sometimes it would be a palm slap, like with the palm of his hands. Other times it'd be a backhand slap, and I catch his knuckles and everything like that on my face.
Wow.
So, like, when you're dealing with Rob, you are not allowed to have an opinion that's different from his. If you are in disagreement with him, that's considered disrespectful, and you're pretty much breaking a rule. So I learned fast that I had to bite my tongue, and you can't have an opinion.
Well, keep it locked in right here. We're going to come back with Jerhonda Pace talking about her situation with R. Kelly, 99.1 FM.
The station with the best music. Best music.
I love the music.
Best music.
What it do, man? It's the original Hot Boy Young Turk. And you already know, man. Rocking with my homie Larry Jones on the Power Hour. You heard me?
You're inside the Power Hour. I'm your host, DJ Larry Jones, and we're back talking to Jerhonda Pace. Jerhonda, okay, now when we left off, we were talking about some of the physical abuse you've went through. And I understand if you do not want to talk about it because I know it's still some emotions behind that.
Yes, that's very true. It was a dark, depressive time for me. It was very sad, and it brings back those memories, like having to relive them mentally. It's no fun.
Right. And you know what? And I feel for you. I really do feel for you that you had to go through that. You know what I mean? Now, talk to me about a non-disclosure sort of contract he had you sign. What was that about?
I had to, first I had to write the letters as well. There was letters that I had to write saying that I had stolen money from him and that my family was set him up and put me up to do these things and say all type of crazy things. And he also had me sign a non-disclosure agreement saying I wouldn't talk about anything that happened at his house. And there was a set of rules and stuff like that I had to follow. And I also had to sign papers saying that he hired me on as an assistant and then that he fired me. So the non-disclosure agreement just went into details. Like it was like, to sum it all up, I was there to please him, even if it meant pleasuring someone else.
Right.
So it was a lot. So I didn't even read the entire agreement. I kind of like looked it over, and that's when Rob was like, okay, here, just sign it. This is all it's saying is what happens here stays here. And I was like, oh, okay. So he just pretty much summed it up, his own terms of it, and I just signed it because he got tired of me just like trying to read everything. So he's like, hey, come on, let's just get this done.
Now, let me ask you, what would have happened if you would have breached that contract? I mean, what was he threatening to do if you had breached the contract?
If there was a breach in the contract, then Rob, it was like I would not be able to be with him anymore. And he threatened my family, said that he know a lot of people and something would happen to my family. So he never specifically said like, I would kill them or I'll do this. He just said, I won't see them anymore. So he said something will happen to your family where you won't see them anymore.
Really?
So that's what it was. And so I was like, okay, well, I thought like to keep all confusion down, just sign the papers and guess what? You get to keep R. Kelly and you get to keep your family safe. So that's how I looked at it. And I was like, that's actually, not that bad. So, well, 16-year-old me didn't think it was bad.
Right. Now, I've read somewhere, or no, actually I've seen it on I think a talk show you was on, I've seen it on, where he just said he locked you in a room for a while, for days or something like that?
Yes. And there were times where Rob would starve me if I didn't agree with, it's like with the same physical abuse. If I questioned him or I didn't agree with anything he said, it was, okay, now you're on punishment. Now you have to be in a room and nobody would give me food. So I can call and I can keep asking the runners hey, can you bring me food? Can you do this? Can you do that? But everything has to go through Rob. So before I can get anything, it goes through him first. So I can put in a request, and then his runners, which are the personal assistants, the runners will have to run it by him. And if he say no, leave her alone, then I don't hear back from them. Like, they won't even do it.
Now, were you even allowed to have cell phones? Did you have a phone or anything like that?
During my time there, I did have a cell phone.
Okay.
But Rob monitored my phone. He monitored everything. Like, he knew that I was young and that I would have to call my mom and check in. So he would give me a script. He'll give me a rundown on what to say to my mom. He's like, just make everything sound cool. So it was always, I was being monitored. And, you know, he always let me know, okay, you do it this way, you say this, you say that. So I definitely had to keep a phone because I had to always make sure I was keeping up with my mom. Like, hey, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm doing this. So it was phones allowed during my stay.
Now, when you had your phone, at any point did you think, you know what, I should call somebody for help and get me the hell out of here? Did you ever think like that? Or it really didn't cross your mind?
That really didn't cross my mind. I was more so focused on keeping my family out of it. Like, okay, just let them know that you're okay and just do what Rob asks you to do. So that's what, you know, I was focused on. Now,
there was some sexual abuse, and like I said, I know it's still kind of difficult to talk about, but if you will, could you talk to me about some of the sexual abuse you suffered? And like I said, don't give too much away because I want people to read the book. I haven't read the book yet. So if you will, talk to me somewhat about the sexual abuse you went through.
Well, with that is whatever Rob say, it has to happen. So if you don't like it or you don't want to do it, he becomes physically abusive. And I had to have sex with, you know, someone else. And I won't really go into details or anything like that because it was all about, you know, having to please Rob or daddy, so to speak. I had to always please him. So you really didn't have much of a say in that. And when I did say, you know, I didn't want to do something, I was physically abused. And I learned very fast, like, just don't deny it.
Now, at the end of it all, what would you like to see happen to him in this situation? What would you want to see the outcome to be?
I would like for justice to be served for my 16-year-old self and also for the women who he has abused over, you know, the course of his years. He abused a lot of women, so I would like justice to be served, as in he needs to be arrested. I don't wish death upon anyone, so I won't say, oh, he needs to be dead or he needs something to happen to him. I just want him to be in prison for the rest of his life. And if I can make that happen, that's what I'm going to do.
There it is, Jerhonda. I thank you so much for calling in and sharing that with us. And I want people to go out there and read the book. And it's titled A Life Beyond Abuse. And I can't wait to read it. And like I said, I thank you so much for calling in and sharing that with us.
And thank you again for having me.
Absolutely. You know what? And we must talk again. You know, you have the information. We got to stay in contact.
Yes, we will.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Keep it locked in right here, 99.1 FM. More music on the way.